between the junior and the senior, it's referred to the deputy. Which doesn't know the docket, has been impartial, and so on. Why isn't it done in this case to ensure that checks and balances are in place, that it's not a report that has been rubber stamped by your friend?
Like I said, when I printed the document, I didn't look for the last page. It was double checked. He is in agreement with me.
The question is, shouldn't you refer it to somebody independent if the two of you do not agree for a third opinion?
No, I disagree with you. It's the same thing where the state has got an expert doing the state's work. Why don't they ask the independent experts on the outside to control their work or check if it's correct?
That does happen. You know that for a fact. As a
don't do
member of
that.
the SAPS, it's sent to Pretoria.
No, they don't. They do not allow any of the private experts within the laboratory, not one.
They do not allow what, can't
In the laboratories currently in South Africa, a private expert or a private entity will not be allowed to go into the laboratory to confirm a physical match or different. What normally happens is we will ask for the cartridge case with the firearm, we will do our own test and we will compare it to the exhibit cartridge or exhibit bullet on our own, independent from the state.
How many years ago did you leave the SAPS?
How many years?
Years ago.
1989, roughly 30 years.
Yes.
Yes.
And you confirming the process is that they do not refer it to a different office for an independent decision. Is that what you're saying?
If they refer the exhibit that was examined in, for instance, Port Elizabeth, and then they will send it to Pretoria to
That's
be
correct.
confirmed. They might be doing that, I don't know. It's possible, yes.
The purpose of that is to ensure there are proper checks and balances before evidence is presented in court. Is that correct?
I would say that's a confirmation of what is seen, yes.
So in this instance, when you and your friend don't agree with one another, shouldn't you have referred it to an independent person to check both your work in order to come to a decision?
I would disagree. We will have a discussion between the two of us to determine what is the right way of going. So you need to qualify your answer. In other words, when you do an examination, you have to qualify your answer, why you believe certain facts. So once you've done that, only then will he sign the peer review report and I will sign my side. We both have to be in agreement.
Should you not do it in this way now that we have established that State is your friend?
Quibus is my friend, he's my partner, it's part of the business. Now in the state's case, the ballistic expert will send it to another ballistic, he's also part of the state. It's the same thing. They might not be friends. It's irrelevant. At the end, as long as your work has been checked.
You said State has got better access to better technology when you testified. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. It's, the advances is big, yes.
Isn't that in direct contradiction what you testified earlier when you said that when I asked you about the proficiency test and all that, you said the basics remain the same despite the advances in technology?
If you look at the basics regarding ballistic identification, the basics when it started in 1950 And Barrett had started in South Africa as the first ballistic expert. The basic principles are exactly the same. That didn't change. If you use the comparison microscope, in that sense the microscope has bettered itself. It's better quality, better prisms and etc. If you look at the firearms where the ejectors and extractors and the barrels are made, they make a lot more than in the olden days where they would make 100 barrels using a tool, and then the tool would be blunt. But the principles that they apply to do the matching, the actual striation matching, is still the same and still applies, no matter how you look at it. The only difference is the quantity of firearms that can be the same becomes larger. That's why they brought in subclass characteristics to make sure that we do not have that problem. So the identification, you have to look at everything. You cannot decide, I'm just going to look at individual characteristics. If you look at the serial numbers that the Lieutenant Colonel examined, they all manufactured one after each other or very close to each other. Now if they import those firearms, they do not import 5. They import 100 or 200 or 1,000. So there's 1,000 firearms now there where the serial number are corresponding with each other, or close to each other, following each other. So the marks, the class characteristics will be the same. That we've established. Then we have to look individual characteristics between each one of these firearms. What is unique? And then based on that, we need to determine that individual characteristics, can that be classified as a possible subclass characteristic? In other words, there's going to be another firearm with the same mark. That's the whole process.
Isn't ballistics a world-class discipline that South Africa can compare with any other state outside the borders? That's why police are being trained also outside.
Yes, you can compare it. Yeah, you can. Same thing.
Why would you say that the technology of steel will be better than if this is a world-class facility or discipline, if I can put it like that?
The requirements in their court are much more advanced in the sense of forensic ballistics. The laboratory put in protocols, a lot more protocols that we currently got in South Africa. The protocols are completely different. I can just give you an example. If you look at the quantity of cases that the Lieutenant Colonel need to examine in a week in relation to an expert in America, it's completely different. There they will have one case which they can spend the whole week on to do the examination, do all the research, make sure everything is 100%. South Africa, we do not have that time or the luxury. They normally would do between 10 and 15 cases a week, and they still 2 years behind. They're only starting to do all the examinations of 3 or 4 years ago's firearm currently. So the workload in relation to the work done, that's why everything is sent for confirmation to Pretoria to double check.
You've left the SAPS 30 years ago. How do you know that they are behind 4 years? 2 years.
2 years.
Yes.
I have insight on the cases. I'm currently busy with other cases which I cannot mention. And in those cases, I can see that the lab numbers that they currently are producing and on the dates where the statements or the 212 affidavits have been supplied. If you look at that, they're basically 2 years behind. It can even be more. The only time that you will find where a case has got preference is where the investigation officer will go to the ballistic unit and say, listen, this is really it's a high profile case, we need it quick.
That's your assumption that you're making, is that correct?
That's
Because
right.
ballistic, sometimes you will only find the spent cartridge on a particular scene and find the firearm relating to that particular cartridge a year or two later in a total different incident, that will also be a factor that needs to be considered. Is that correct?
Yes, that's also correct, yes. That's why I can just give you a little bit more insight. You've got the IBIS system. How it works is when they get exhibits that picked up a scene without a firearm, they will examine it, they will give out a report. Those cartridge cases, the best marks that is available will be given to IBIS. The IBIS system will then store it on a computer, and that cartridge case will be compared to all the firearms as it comes in over the whole South Africa. So if, for instance, a year later they find a firearm, let's say in the Cape, and they fire the test and they load it up into IBIS, IBIS will give a hit list saying there's a possibility that the exhibit that was picked up in Gauteng could have been fired out of this firearm that you received and examined in Cape Town. Then they will appoint an examiner to do the actual matching of what they see.
But the international standard is that you should find 2 or more surface couture. Is that correct? In order to make a positive identification, is that correct?
According to me, yes, you need two different areas.
Yes.
Yes.
A surface couture and different, and the area, is that one and the same thing, or is it 2?
No, it's different. The contour, like you're discussing, it's chamber marks. The contour is the whole cartridge, left from the beginning, from 0 degrees right to 360 degrees. The area, I'm talking about the tool. Now you need to relate it to the tool. So you have a tool mark, like the neck mark, that you have to confirm either with the extractor, ejector, ejection port, deflector, any other mark other than that neck marks.
Isn't that exactly what Klerk did in his investigation? That he did compare those with each other and he got 3 marks.
According to my recollection in the testimony that he gave, he only used the neck mark. He couldn't find any other marks.
You testified yesterday that the reason why that firearm SPA jammed on the video that was presented in court, you gave 2 scenarios. One, that the firearm could have been dirty, is that correct?
That is correct.
What was the other one again?
The ammunition.
Incorrect.
Yeah. The ammunition could be out of specification.
If the bolt of that firearm has been removed or changed, can that also have an impact on a firearm jamming? Especially if it's a little bit shorter than it should be.
I would say the bolt carrier, no, it should not have an effect. And the bolt itself, the rotating bolt, I would also say it will have no effect. If you have an original part, in other words, if you replace it with a CQA, another one, it's supposed to work.
If it's not exactly the same, if it's shorter, then it should be.
If it's shorter or has been altered,
Yes.
then it will not work the way that it's supposed to.
Yes. That's exactly the point that I'm trying to make, that that is also one of the factors that could cause a firearm to jam. Is that correct?
So I would agree, yes.
And now we know this has happened, that that bolt has been replaced of SPA 249.
The possibility exists, yes.
How do we know that, Your Worship? With respect, that's a misleading question. We don't know that it was jammed. The ballistic expert says because it tested negative in its entirety to the ejector, etc., etc., therefore he comes to the conclusion that it was jammed. Our evidence put to the ballistic expert was that the security guard to whom that firearm was issued says it was not checked. So
So what is Advocate Matthews, as far as I recall, the evidence of the ballistic expert was, and I'm recalling from memory long ago, that he found the breech block was changed and he actually found the firearm which matches the changed breech block.
no.
Yes, yes, yes.
Never.
Yes, yes,
With
yes.
respect, I don't know your worship's mouth on of the hell. There is definitely not the evidence before.
Okay, let us just give your client the opportunity to finish his laughing exercise there. Continue. Continue. Are you done? Oh, thank you.
Bishop, in respect of that issue, I won't take it further. I just want to ask you that if the ball has been changed of a particular firearm, would that also cause the fact that it jams? I will leave it at that.
It could.
I'm not done with that yet. Advocate
It could
Matthews, I
cause.
was recording from memory, but I'll check. So withdraw your statement of saying I've gone off the rails.
That was the expression you
All
were.
right. Then I accept it as that.
Sure.
Thank you.
But I hope your worship will check, because that is very important. That is very important.
Capital letter, comma, and a full stop. I check it all.
It's a very important aspect, your worship, and with respect, you are wrong. The witness did not say that he found the bolt that fitted that particular fire.
Please then, before you continue, refer to the exact page and record and read.
As to where he said that.
As to where he doesn't say that.
I would like your worship to refer to the exact point.
No. You objected, Advocate Matthews. Then please refer me to the reason and the paragraph why you are objecting.
I'm objecting because your worship said that the witness testified.
Yes, that was a reply to your objection. You objected to what was placed to the witness by the state. Lay the basis for your objection.
My objection is that the prosecutor said we have established that the witness said that the bolt was in fact changed.
Yes.
All right. I think that was his question. I can't recall that. Your worship then said that the witness testified that it was indeed changed because he found the bolt that fitted that particular firearm.
That part
That
you
is the
said.
problem I've got.
That was my reply to your objection.
Yeah.
So I want to know what you are objecting to as to what was placed before the witness.
It was never established
That the bolt
that the
was
bolt
changed.
was changed.
Are you saying
The witness
you
said
never
because,
testified that the bolt was changed?
yes, the witness testified because the parts, the ejector extracted, breech face marks, firing pin of that particular firearm were negative. He's saying that that portion was changed. Our version to him was, nothing has been changed on this firearm. It's negative because you are wrong about the neck mark.
Yes.
You understand the way? So it's never been established, like my learned colleague is testifying, that the part was in fact changed. That is in
All right,
dispute.
that will then be a decision that the court will make at the end because you have your vision and the state has their vision.
Exactly. That it has never been established that that is in fact what
Please
happened.
rephrase the word established.
Yes, thank you. I did already rectify that for the witness. It is on record that I'll leave it at that. But I want to show you, I want to take you again to your report. On paragraph 7.1, 7.2, where you states on the 15th of November 2021, I received an email with instructions to the following effect. 7.1, to determine all the microscopic marks transferred between the working parts of the rifles to an unfired ammunition, and further to determine if any of these marks can be part of the microscopic comparison process comparing fired cartridge case to the suspect rifle. The following serial number of the rifles were SPCN SPA 237/14, same CN SPA 245, SPA 246, SPA 248. Do you see that?
That's correct.
Then you also refers to during on 7.2 to describe and explain the complete working of the Norinco 223.
That's correct.
Remington, I assume, that's what the REM is standing for, caliber model, and you describe the model, copy firearms relating to serial number CNSPA 239/14. Is that correct?
That is correct, and that serial number should read 249. That's the exhibit, if I'm not mistaken.
If I understand you, you are saying this is a typo.
That's just a type.
I just want to confirm on that aspect that all the list of the serial numbers are in front of me, and that SPA 239 have never been part of the exhibits that has been forwarded to the ballistic unit or that has been presented by technical security services to the ballistic section.
That is correct. I've only noticed the typing error now is 249.
Can you explain this specific paragraphs? What do you mean here?
I was asked, instructed to give an explanation in the beginning. My presentation is how the firearm works. What happens when the trigger is pulled? That's the video that I've showed. That's in a nutshell how the firearm. This is what I needed to determine. The court needed to understand. If you shoot the firearm, what happens to the cartridge case on the inside? How's the marks transferred? How is it ejected? Where does the cartridge going to fall? That's what I needed to determine, relating to the Norinco CQA with that serial number. Now the serial numbers that I've examined is the exact one, it's the same make, model, just the serial numbers are different.
The SPA 249, the one that you now saying in 7.2, it was a typing error, a typo. Isn't that the exact same firearm that was seized? I just want to make sure by the SAPS and that it was actually linked to the spent cartridge case.
This is 249, it's the one that's related to the cartridge case, yes.
But you never examined it.
No, I haven't.
Why referring to it here in your report if you have never examined it?
Because there was mention made regarding the firearm, so I needed to show that the exhibit firearm for the court is exactly the same as what I've examined.
So the calculate really to show that.
To show that the exhibit firearm that was linked by Lieutenant Colonel is the same or similar to the ones that I've examined. And I can take it a little bit further, so the class characteristics and some of the subclass characteristics I would find in the other firearms.
But we've already established you've never had seen this exhibit even before it was fired, during the play it was fired, or after it. So you've never tested it.
No, I haven't tested it.
What was the purpose of you making a video with that blank firearm? What was the reason for that?
At a stage, my instruction was there was a flash. And I needed to determine if we fire a blank firearm, what will happen? What will we see? That's why we made the video. And that was the last time we were here at court after the testimony of the Lieutenant Colonel.
Did you have to switch off the lights in order for us to see that muzzle flash that came out of that?
I did exactly the same as what the Lieutenant Colonel did.
Did you switch off the lights?
I did, yeah, switch off the lights to make the flash, because it's so quick, it's just to make it visible that you can see it.
Does that blank firearm that you've used during that demonstration also have recoil when you fire shots?
Yes, not a lot, but it does have recoil, yes.
Is the amount of muzzle flash that is produced by that firearm that you used in your demonstration exactly the same as those that we see on the video when the incident occurred at the Sisal Dukasha Stadium?
It's similar.
Similar or the same?
How can I determine if it's the same? I have found, by firing the blank gun, that in some instances the flash is actually sometimes larger than that of the CQR. But there is a flash present.
Can I make use of your expertise? What's the word that I want to use? So sorry, Roshan. How much live rounds would the 9mm Glock standard magazine take?
Depending on the type of Glock, it can be between 8 or 9, up to 15. You get extended mags where you'll have 40, 30. It all depends on the magazine capacity, but normally you would find it will be 15 rounds.
15, is that correct? So those standard issues by the police and so on will have the same like 15.
You can't just say that they have 50. It depends on the firearm that they've got. It should be 15. That's a standard. When you use your Alibi Z88, it should be 15 rounds, yes.
Can you explain the process when you fire a 9mm Glock? What happens when the magazine is empty?
The firearm will, the slide at itself, the top part of the pistol, will stay in the rear position. And once you take the magazine out, then by depressing your release lever on the left hand side, the slide can go forward. That's one way of doing it. Otherwise, the second part is where you have another magazine which is loaded with cartridges which you will put in, and you'll still have to do the same action for the slide to go forward.
The hammer, when the slide is open, in which position will the hammer be?
On a Glock, you won't see the hammer. I can just give you a little bit more information on the Glock. The only way that you will be able to see that the firearm has got a cartridge in the chamber is by the cartridge indicator, which is situated on the extractor, which is a smaller little red line that you will see. That's the only way to determine by standing looking at a firearm or a Glock pistol looking at it.
Before you put the firearm back in its holster, the 9mm Glock, do you have to release the
firing pin, the hammer? No, you don't have to. No.
The slide? I mean, do you have to let the slide go back to the cut position that it's supposed to be, like forward, because you already said when it's empty, it's all the way back.
We have to look at the action of the firearm. In other words, if I fire the firearm and there's no more cartridges on the inside of the magazine, what I have to do is I'll have to press it down so that the slide can go forward and I can put it in my holster. I can even put it in the holster without closing the slide. It's either or. But the main thing for when the magazine are inside the firearm and you've finished firing and used up all the cartridges, the slide should stay at the back. And it will only go forward either by you taking out the magazine, cocking it and letting it go under release, or by pressing it. That's it.
I want to show you these videos.
I can
Yes.
have a look there. It's fine.
I know you've watched it before, but I want to
I
show
can
it to you
see.
again. You can come out of the box if you want to. Your worship, if
I
you
can
like.
see it on the
Would you be
computer
able to see
for the
it?
court. I can see it, yes. So I'm sure they don't have to tell me.
Say that he found animals, but he was not able to make a positive finding. Did you see it?
I saw.
I want you to count the number of shots that you can hear on the actual video.
Count the number of
Yes,
shots.
count it.
With permission, if we stand down, I can look at the video and
Yes.
examine it. I don't know how many shots is fired. I didn't count them.
Are you asking the court to adjourn to allow him time?
Yes.
That's
No,
what
this
he-
is not objective.
Yes, you should.
As also, please.
You can look at it.
That is his request. So I thought that's what I heard. I'm not calling.
He can have to stand and listen where he's standing here without us adjourning.
No, I understood they wanted to just step forward to see on the screen because it's too far from you. There's no need to
Yeah,
adjourn.
just hear from him
No,
more.
what they wanted.
Is that what is your request?
I would like to play the video on my own,
Yes.
but I can slow it down and make sure the shot because it's very fast. But you can play.
No,
appears to be between 15 and 16, but I can be incorrect.
I don't know what he's been using, so I hadn't failed to understand. Yeah, it's annoying me. I'm not going to address it again, it's disturbing. And maybe not to the witness, but to the court. I'm going to accede to the witness's request to slow down at his leisure and count the shots so that he's sure, as it is an important aspect. So the matter will stand down for now. Okay, it doesn't matter. I also want to add Advocate Odes and Advocate Matthews. The portion of questions by court of the colonel, that part I now recall, I don't have the transcribed record of that part. I only have evidence in chief. It came to my mind now. I have evidence in chief, then cross-exam by Advocate Odes and cross-exam by yourself. So this was done before questions by court. So I don't have a transcription of that part. So if you do, and the answer to our bone of contention is contained in that part, I would appreciate it so that I can put that behind us.
Maybe when we're doing argument or endless argument.
It's just dawned on me, I don't have that part of the transcript. Okay, then we'll adjourn for the witness to have a look. And then just, can they pass here to call me, or is it blocked? Then you're going to come and call me. You're going to walk right around and come and call me. All right, call me when you're ready. Court will adjourn.